great audience. It's so full too. Oh my god.
There's no better place to, watch a movie than cool. All right. Yeah, so all of our mics are on, just making sure.
Check. One,
Yes,
two,
yes.
check.
Okay, awesome. All right, so we have about like 20 minutes for questions, so I will make mine quick and short, so we can get to you guys. I think this is probably, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's probably the question you always get, but your film is so unique and hilarious, and like, just where did the idea for Yaniv come from? And that can be taken by anybody who would like to answer.
Well, first of all, we love playing Yanni.
Okay.
We're obsessed. And we're really good at it, especially him.
I won a lot of money playing Yaniv.
Yeah, against our crew. We love playing Yanni. We always play Yanni. It made perfect sense for us to make a movie about Yanni.
Especially during the pandemic, we had a lot of time in our hands to just sit around and play. We were hanging out a lot during the summer, going on runs together. And Ben and I, by the way, we've been friends since we were in 4th grade. So we have a very long collaboration process between us. So we always spit out ideas at each other, and most of them kind of suck. We just kind of shoot them down. But one day, in the middle of the pandemic, we're sitting around thinking, and this idea comes up: what if there was this underground casino where Orthodox Jewish men play Yaniv? And I kind of looked at him like, oh, that's brilliant. And we started it out as a short film, and within a week it became a feature. Granted, I think the writing process took us about 5 weeks for draft number 1. And then a year later, we were at what, draft?
17.
17. That was the lucky number for us. And gearing up for pre-production. So it was a pretty quick process, all things considered. We wrote it that summer. A year later, Nik came on board, and it became a reality. And we filmed that thing in 19 days.
Oh my God.
Right? Yeah. It just, I don't want to go there, but I will for you guys now. Yeah, that was wild. 19 days, half shot in New York City, half shot in Detroit. I bet you couldn't tell that was Detroit, right? One scene walking off the subway, the next scene, suburbs of Detroit. Which lends itself to the, just the magic of movie making. And I guess the story finishes up. We had our first rough cut within 4 months. And then the next summer, like pretty much to the day after we wrapped shooting, we had our first advanced screening of this cut in Detroit.
It's a crazy quick process.
I don't recommend it.
No, yeah. Don't do that. But even if it was such a quick process, were there still things that you guys left on the cutting room floor, or things that you were fighting to get in that didn't get in, or are there things that,
Well, how about things you're fighting to shoot, but you're getting thrown out of the location? But yeah, Nick knows a lot about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll even say, before we made it to like the cutting room floor, there was stuff that like just on the last day that we couldn't shoot. We were just out of time. We were out of time, and we had to get the stuff that we rented back in the morning. We were shooting till like 3 o'clock in the morning, and right now, I'm sitting down and watching the movie again, and I think back and I'm like, I don't even know what we were missing, because it just works so well that you kind of, there are certain moments that you shoot for a film that you cherish and you love, but when you see the movie come all together, you kind of just forget about it.
As the editor of the film, I can tell you exactly what was missing. No, you're absolutely right. We watch this film now, and it's like, it's exactly what we want it to be. We forget, I think, what used to be there. By the way, that film has been cut down from its rough cut. Half an hour has been taken out since then. It was one of the hardest decisions that I ever had to do in my life. Editing a feature is a brutal process. Directing and editing also really puts you in a tough bind. It gives you a lot of freedom, but at the same time, it's also like you have a lot of bias, and you want to cherish and save those moments that took like an extra day to do, and we were so lucky to get that shot. But at the end of the day, what works on screen is what works on screen. So you have to make some tough calls. But all in all, I mean, I think, I speak for all of us, I think we're all very happy with how it trimmed down.
It's a, I think, perfectly paced film, but I'm looking forward to the bonus features because
Extended
Be
cut.
careful what you wish
the
for.
director's cut, yeah. One of the things that is really interesting about the film is that obviously it is a comedy. We're all laughing, but at the core of the film is kind of this sad reality of teachers not being able to get the funding that they need for their own projects. And I was hoping you could speak to that. I know, Ben, you are an educator, so I put the spotlight more on you, but feel free to comment on that.
Sure, yeah. And I mean, I understand that after what we've been through together with those kids, the three of us are all educators. I am a full-time public school teacher in New York City Public Schools. I now work at a film-focused high school called Motion Picture Technical High School, where we train students in production all day long and do whatever we can to give them experiences just like this. At the time, I was teaching, when I made this, I was teaching the history of the South Bronx. So all the students that you saw in this movie were my students at the time. And not only that, they were great. And not only that, we had students working behind the camera, scattered across departments. They were especially useful in art department. The schools that we filmed in, it was the middle of the summer, they were empty. Those students went in there and they made it look like the school. It was really amazing. We had students in camera, students on sound, all over. And, but it's funny because this is a major problem that we're highlighting. We talk about how we wish we had a program like this when we were in high school. It's lots of arts programs, lots of language programs, lots of really important programs are just getting gutted, and it's going to continue to get worse, obviously. But there is hope because, what's kind of meta about this project is that New York City did help us make this movie. We pitched this idea to them where we basically said, hey, there are countless movies, shows, music videos, commercials being produced in New York City every single day, but there's not enough people that have the skills to actually work on these projects. And we have so many young, smart people right here that want to learn. And the city really helped us make it happen. They made it possible for those students to get paid. They helped those students, build portfolios and resumes, work with industry professionals. Their bosses on this movie were people from the industry. Every student that had a line in this movie is now SAG eligible. That's awesome. Very privileged. And we had some seniors on the shoot that were offered jobs before we wrapped. Our AD took one of our kids to be a driver on his next project. So we're all about helping students get their foot in the door in the industry, learn the things that they need to learn to have a career not just in film and TV, but just in media in general.
It's also such an industry that has such wide reach. There are so many jobs that you can do, and some are creative, some are non-creative. The amount of money that goes into these productions is enormous. It's just a great way to give students who are on the cusp of adulthood, who want to have responsibility. It's so cool to see a kid holding like a $20,000 camera, and just feeling it. And feeling that the power and responsibility of it all, but really just having these channels to educate, to pay, to give a direction and a future, essentially. I mean, these students they didn't know they wanted to be filmmakers before Yaniv, and now that's all they want to do, and that's a beautiful thing, and we want to keep bringing that to them. So
that's awesome. I am going to turn it over to you folks in a second. I just have one more question. But obviously you two have such a connection with Yaniv from playing together. Have other people come up to you and told you stories about Yaniv that maybe this film has kind of brought up?
Well, I will say that every time that we screen, there are people that come that are just aware of the game and can't believe that somebody made a movie about this game that they've been trying to tell people about for years. And in fact, you'll see tonight, there's probably someone in the audience right now that's about to do very well.
And I imagine that all of you are coming to our Yaniv Club after this, where we will teach you how to play the game. So there will be many stories to tell tomorrow.
And there's parkour.
Yeah.
No, there's not. That shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Great, so we are gonna turn it over to you guys. Just raise your hand and we'll call on you if you got questions. Over there.
Why Little Shop of Horrors, and what is the music actually from Little Shop? It didn't seem to me like it was.
The question was why Little Shop of Horrors, and were those actually songs from Little Shop?
It's hard for us to find a musical that we both agree on.
We're both, yeah.
He'll tell you about the music.
Yeah, so yeah, we both love Little Shop of Horrors. And again, a very meta moment. We could not afford the rights to Little Shop of Horrors, so astute observation, that is definitely not what Little Shop of Horrors sounds like. In fact, we improvised those lyrics on set. Like, as we were filming, those kids were like, what are we singing, mister? And we're like, this, and then that's what you see. Yeah.
And the kids added some funny lyrics too.
Oh, they certainly did, yeah, they had a lot of
Which we
fun.
did not include, but that was some of the most fun I think we had.
It was near the end of the shoot too. We were like exhausted, like at our wits' end, and it was a real nice respite from everything that had been there until then.
Also, everybody, the crew was really mad at the kids because they had drank all the Red Bulls that we had.
Yeah.
I have actually two questions. First part of the question is, you introduce yourselves and tell them because you're unrecognizable without the hats and beards.
Okay. Yeah.
Repeat the question.
Who I know.
Yeah, I'm happy to introduce. Okay. There's a lot there. So first of all, he was asking if we could introduce, and I apologize. I've been in touch with these guys the entire festival. Like everyone knows them, but so
Don't you know us?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we have Ben Ducoff, who is the lead of the film and co-writer. We have Amnon Carmi, who is the director, producer, co-writer, editor. Now that you mentioned it.
What about you?
And then we have Nik Sadhnani, who is one of the producers. And an actor. And the question was kind of, I don't think we got to a question.
It was a very interesting story.
It was an interesting story about arts in Brooklyn.
We should talk later.
Well, yeah. We have 5 minutes? All right.
So after making a whole movie on it, are you guys sick of playing Yaniv?
No!
The question,
Late at night.
In fact, I challenge you.
the question was, after making a movie on Yaniv, are they sick of it? So, emphatic no's.
That
As
is
you
fun
guys
to
will
see.
see after.
Yeah, go to Africa, you'll learn how fun it is. It's like we've been playing for almost a decade now, and it doesn't get old.
Yeah.
It's great.
All right. So I think we have time for 2 more questions, and then we can all continue the conversation at the Yaniv pop-up.
Yeah, we will be continuing the Q&A and the pop-up, just so you're aware. We will answer all your questions as well, but yeah.
Yeah. Over there.
I was wondering what the process of scoring or creating music videos was like.
The question was, what was the process of scoring and creating the music? Because it is a really unique score.
Yeah. Excellent question. There were multiple composers in this. First of all, we have Alan Douglas, who was on screen playing with Mendy in that whole scene. That is the actual guy, and afterwards, he came up and was like, hey, I'd love to score this. So all the klezmer pieces, all the more classical sounding stuff that you hear throughout, in the more, interestingly enough, the more secular scenes, you hear more of the klezmer sound. Those are his bits. I actually composed the techno, harder kind of like EDM sounds that you hear in the club.
With another credit. Oh my gosh.
Well, whatever. I was raised by musicians, so I have that going. And then we also brought in kind of a third composer as well to kind of like fill in some missing pieces. So it was a big mess of contributions, but obviously we have to put a lot of thought into it, and it's important, as you heard.
All right, I'm gonna get over here. I feel like I've been ignoring you guys. You, right over there. No, right behind you, but I'll get to you in a second.
I thought the movie was just the right length, which is not often the case with movies like this. What I'm curious about is what we missed.
You said you X'd out a half an hour, so that's more than 2 lines here, a couple lines there. Did you take out a whole scene somewhere?
The question was just what was left on the cutting room floor, this half-hour cut?
Yeah, well, the Jonah flashback sequence, which is about 5 minutes, used to be 15. There was an entire extra part where he actually, with this guy, shares a hotel room and realizes it's going to be a bad night.
They don't like me.
Yeah, because of all our beef through night.
I would still the show.
So that was a solid chunk right there. And also, where it ended was not initially where it ended. There was this whole segment where afterwards they greet everyone comes down the stairs, Bernstein sees Sadie, they hug. Mendy almost identifies Deb. He's like, you look familiar, you know? And then the Rebbe introduces Bernstein to a big donor who will help them make shows in the future. But we realized that that's all hinted at pretty well where it ends, and it's much punchier, and it was getting too long. So those are kind of the main pieces. There was a lot of just trimming little bits here and there though throughout. It adds up. It's really interesting. Just a half second. Sorry?
I feel like I saw that.
Yeah, well, good.
And one more question.
First of all, I grew up, so that was
Grew up in Regal Park. Nice.
I have a question. Not a question, a comment, a compliment. To say that I think you did, as teachers, I think you did a fabulous job portraying the struggle of addiction. And I really, I appreciate it. And I'm sure the kids who work with you about that.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. That was something that we took really seriously.
Appreciation for tackling the addiction elements is what was being shared, and yes, I appreciate it as well, but feel free to continue from where you were.
No, I mean there's very real themes in this film, and part of the process of working with these students was, especially while we were preparing to shoot it, was reading the script, analyzing it. The students really picked up on it, and they were really upset that we filmed that scene in Detroit.
It was a moving scene. It was we knew as we were filming it, like this was going to be powerful. And also this comes from a place where Ben and I know as we were writing the script, we know people who struggle with addiction, and it's amazing how there are really great people in this world who just happen to have that, and it's not easy to control, and sometimes life makes it hard to control anything. So this is one of those kind of situations of circumstance, and how Jonah's a great person, and it wasn't entirely his fault, and just, the whole idea seemed to be safe, and there were no real high stakes, even though it obviously turned into a mess. We like walking that fine line and interspersing the serious with humor, which seems to be a very Jewish tradition on its own anyway, so I think we just it felt like the right thing to add into the story.
Great. Well, we are going to continue the conversation. Down to our congregation today. Yeah, that's it. Amnon, Nik, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joey, our guy.